Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Toast. And something very interesting popped up over the weekend in regards to possibly the Nintendo Switch successor. I mean, more and more news has come out indicating that this device is going to be quite a powerful upgrade, maybe even more so than what we were originally expecting from a Nintendo platform. It's sounding pretty good so far, but that is kind of the thing about Nintendo. You really don't know what to expect from them because they've been known to play around with unique console ideas. This is kind of their bread and butter, and according to a new discovery, well, they are indeed toying around with a new but familiar idea. So we're going to dive into all of that today, as well as some unfortunate news for a PlayStation studio. It really feels like there's a lot going on behind the scenes with Sony right now. It's just an unfortunate situation, but we're going to dive into all of that as well. Before we get started, though, do make sure to hit that subscribe and ring that bell. That way, every time I post a new video, it'll be delivered directly to your device. It makes things just a little bit easier to stay up to date as I do post these videos every Monday through Friday. So don't forget to hit those buttons. With that said, though, let's just go and jump right into the video, starting off with Capcom because they're teasing a major unannounced game that will push millions of units by the end of their fiscal year, which means whatever it is, it's going to release by March of 2024. Now, I believe this is actually the second time that they've mentioned this unannounced project, so the fact that they're repeating themselves here, that means whatever this game is, it's on track. It's going to release by March of 2024. The bigger questions here, though, is really just when are they going to announce it and what exactly is it? Well, I think if you look at Capcom's IP, the easy guess here would probably be the next big Monster Hunter game at the Game Awards. That would really be the perfect place to announce something like that, and it's really just one of the only franchises that fits their description of a game that will push millions of units in that short period of time. I mean, looking at some of their other franchises, Resident Evil would probably be the only one that kind of pops out as having that kind of selling power, but I don't really think the next Resident Evil is quite ready just yet. Plus, we can actually go back and look at the Capcom leak from a few years back as a reference point. Monster Hunter 6 was on that list. At that time, back in 2020, it was planned for a 2023 Q3 release, which was shortly after Street Fighter 6 and Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, things may have changed since then, but at the very least, it does look like a Monster Hunter 6 announcement is very, very possible here. But it could be something entirely different. Speaking of that Capcom leak, they were also planning a new Onimusha game at the time, so who knows? It could be that as well. We'll just have to kind of wait and see, but the Game Awards, that's looking like the place to pay attention to right now. Moving on, in a very bizarre situation this weekend, Microsoft was reportedly majorly raising the price of the Xbox Series S in Brazil. This was first reported by The Enemy, and according to them, the Xbox Series S was skyrocketing from around 2,500 all the way up to 3,600 Brazilian real, which translates to more than $700 US. Now, this puts its price more in line with the PlayStation 5 digital in Brazil, which that is crazy to think about. Yeah, consoles are pretty expensive over there. That's not necessarily new, but the PS5 digital is a more powerful console, and that's not something that the Xbox Series S can really compete with at the same price point. The main attraction for the Series S has always been that it's a budget-friendly option, and I mean, if it were to lose that advantage, I mean, there's a real question on why even try to sell it in the first place? So, this was just a very bizarre situation, but fortunately for consumers, Microsoft has already reverted the price back to what it was originally. You can see here on their website, it's back to being around 2,600 Brazilian real once again. Now, maybe this was just some kind of error that they had to fix, or also maybe it was just the backlash that they got over the weekend. Xbox fans were very vocal about this situation over the weekend, so maybe Microsoft was just listening, but either way, it appears that it is back to normal for the time being. So if you did previously hear about those Brazilian price hikes, well, you can rest assured now, big W for fans. Let's go talk about Nintendo, though, because a new patent surfaced online, and I believe this might be the single most interesting discovery for the Switch successor yet. Though I do have to emphasize one thing. Just because Nintendo has patented something, this does not mean that it will become a reality. So just kind of keep that in mind as we talk about this. Nothing is confirmed until Nintendo themselves announces it. So as long as we're clear on all that, we can continue on. But what's happening here is that they patented a dual screen like handheld device. If you look at the pictures here, you can see that it looks very reminiscent of the 3DS based on the concept that they drew up. But there is a twist here, no pun intended, but the top screen can actually be detached and then rotated into position. Now, when I first saw this, my immediate thought is, why? Why would you need a rotating or detachable top screen? How would that actually be implemented into a gameplay design? What exactly is this attempting to do? And I think it might be to solve a problem with the dual screen hybrid console design. I mean, if you think about it, if they were to make a dual screen Switch successor, that could be a problem for developers. Now, what I mean by that is that if you're playing in docked mode, you won't have that second screen like you do in portable mode. So how exactly would developers make their games? Do they focus on that second screen or not? But that's where that rotating or detachable top screen comes in. That would essentially make it like a Wii U tablet when you play it on your TV. I mean, you also have to consider that this is not the first time that Nintendo has attempted a dual screen home console setup. They've already done it with the Wii U, and with this patented design here, they could maybe try it once again by solving the problem of how you can have both a dual screen setup in docked and handheld mode at the same time. If that is what they're trying to do, though, I guess the next question is, what are they actually docking? Maybe you just put the bottom screen into the docking station and then use the top screen as a controller? I'm not exactly sure. There's definitely still some questions with this design. I'm just kind of theorizing right now, but putting all the speculation to the side for a moment, the most interesting part about this patent is not necessarily the design itself. If this ever actually comes to the market, and that is a big if, but if it does, it could be completely different than what this concept shows here. At the end of the day, this is just an idea, a concept, and nothing more. But the fact that Nintendo is at the bare minimum toying around with the idea of a dual screen setup is quite interesting to think about, and I think that it does make some sense for Nintendo. Now, I'm not saying that the Switch successor will absolutely have a dual screen setup. I'm not saying that at all, but it is fun to speculate, and one fun thing to think about here is their Switch online service. If they want to continue pushing that subscription's momentum forward, they need to keep expanding. Right now, Switch Online has NES games, it has Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, and it even has Nintendo 64 games, but there is still a very, very large portion of Nintendo's legacy that's kind of in an awkward position. The Nintendo DS and the 3DS, which utilizes that second screen. So, in a way, a new dual screen device could actually work in favor of their subscription service. I'm just kind of throwing that out there, but like I said before, at the end of the day, this is just a patent. There's a very good chance that nothing comes from this at all. We do really need to wait for Nintendo to confirm it themselves, but I do want to hear from you all. Do you like the idea of a dual screen Switch successor or not? All right, now we do unfortunately have one more topic to talk about, and these topics are never fun. One of PlayStation's newest studios, being Bungie, has reportedly been hit by layoffs. Now, as of this recording, it's unknown how many people have actually been impacted. It does seem like it's affecting a wide variety of people, but we really don't know anything concrete on that as of yet. It, however, apparently is a part of a couple delays as well. According to Bloomberg, the Destiny 2 expansion titled The Final Shape and their next game, Marathon, have both been delayed. The Final Shape is now slated to release in June of 2024, and Marathon has been pushed all the way into 2025. Now, I've said 100 times on this channel, delays don't really bother me. I'd prefer they just take their time and get things right. That's the best practice to take as a studio. But with layoffs as well, that's the alarming part here. You never want to see people lose their jobs. And there's also another component to this story. Sony just acquired Bungie last year as a part of their live service push. They were purchased as the lead to teach and help their other PlayStation studios with their live service games. And now here we are just 1 year later, and Bungie is being hit with layoffs. For that matter, several other Sony studios have recently been hit with layoffs as well. And by this point, I mean, some people are kind of asking, what exactly is going on behind the scenes over at PlayStation? Jim Ryan supposedly is retiring. Connie Booth and her team were recently shuttered. Media Molecule was impacted last week, and they also canceled several live service games over the last 2 years. So it does seem like something is happening in the background at Sony, which is even more strange when you look at PlayStation's recent success. The PlayStation 5 is flying off shelves, as we know, so you would think things would be going swimmingly for them, but that's seemingly not what's happening here. Now, there's been some reports recently that there might be some internal concerns with the direction Sony is going in with their live service approach, and maybe we could link this to that. I've also seen some questions raised for their operating income, which is quite slim compared to their revenue earned. But one thing is for certain here, this really is just a sad situation that we've repeatedly seen throughout 2023. A lot of game studios across the industry have been hit with layoffs this year, and I think what makes this situation even more sad is that all of this is happening during really an otherwise fantastic year for gaming. I mean, for us fans, there's been so many great games that's released this year, and to still see this happen, yeah, it's upsetting and it's frustrating. But for all those impacted, my heart truly does go out to you, and I hope you bounce back as quick as possible. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though. We're asked you all, which new game releasing in November of 2023 are you most excited for? And no big surprise here. It goes to one of the most popular games year in and year out, being Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 3 is once again expected to be a huge hit this year, and maybe that's one of the reasons why all these other publishers avoided releasing their games during the same month. For whatever reason, every other publisher wanted to release their games during the month of October. Yeah, there was a lot this month, but November, it's still looking pretty good. Of course, you have Call of Duty, that only seemingly is a huge game to look forward to every year. We'll kind of see what Microsoft does with that in the future. Are they going to stick with that annual release? I guess we'll see. But even beyond that, it looks like Nintendo, they're going to have a pretty big month as well. They have WarioWare coming, and of course, Mario RPG. And that's the one that I'm personally looking forward to. I've never actually completed Mario RPG, so I'm actually really looking forward to playing this one. And yeah, November, it appears to be another fun month for gamers. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget about the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.